Welcome to this really special conversation with Raj Menda. Raj, thank you so much for making time for us for this conversation. I want to obviously start by talking about Bangalore. While we've had a large portion of the real estate market talk about how things are slowing down in the resi market, the commercial market is doing really well. You've had an excellent quarter that ended September. What is this quarter looking like for you? And what is the Bangalore commercial market looking like?
So I'll answer the third part of your question first. I think Bangalore has been in the last few years leading the way in the office absorption in the country. In the last 2015 stats that were released, Bangalore did 50% of grade A office leasing in India. The balance 50 went to the other cities, I would say led by other 5 more cities, and the rest went to the rest of the country. But at 50%, it has the maximum amount of job creation. So if you see that, as to how the city works, it's just more companies are coming in, they're making their beelines into the city, and it's growing. My calculated guess is 2016, as a year will end, it 20% higher than the numbers of 2015 in terms of office space absorption. So it's just doing good for itself. Yes, unfortunately the infrastructure, which everybody talks about, it takes forever to commute, and the city is growing is simply because there are so much more youth, and which is making their beeline into the city because so many more jobs directly and indirectly are getting created in the city.
We've had a quarter of slightly disappointing numbers from the IT sector, and we know that Bangalore largely depends on the IT sector, whether it's for commercial space or job creation. Sure. Does that cause you concern in any way?
So again, if you look at the stats that you're reading, are invariably the listed IT stocks, yes, which are basically doing job works for multinationals. They're not basically creating their own knowledge base. Okay. So the kind of IT companies which my company RMZ represents, we have the biggest of the biggest Fortune 500 companies and the biggest of the biggest NASDAQ, the top 100 of the biggest NASDAQ, the top 100 of the biggest Fortune, who are our clients, and they are just growing. So what they're doing is they're outsourcing their own works into India and not through third party, which was being done through the other companies. So they're losing their market share because these companies are coming in directly on their own. So if you look at the overall market, it's growing because they are coming directly, and that's the simple answer to this point.
Well, the Outer Ring Road is a spot that you're very bullish on. You have about 29 million square feet under construction right now. Tell us where you see this space going in the next 5 years.
It is simply because the catchment area of the people who are working in these IT companies comes in the similar zones between the Sajapur Road and the Whitefield, has huge amount of catchment. Typically, if you stay in and around that area, you have, and you can get to work in 15-20 minutes, is not too bad because commuting through the rest of the city takes a long time. But commuting in that zone is the fastest. That's why it has succeeded, and the success is adding to more homes to come there. So each one is feeding on the other, and it's just growing on itself. So that's the first sector that has succeeded because it was a wide access road. It was not so populated, and it gives space for large tracts of land to be converted to commercial. So that's typically why it started out in such a large scale there. But moving forward, that happens to be on the east of Bangalore. Now moving forward, you'll find it's moving to the north of Bangalore, which has again got large tracts of land because of the gateway to the airport and the infrastructure the government is putting on that side. So in the whole ring road right up to the North Bangalore, you will see will be the next boom where all the IT companies will make the beeline to, and again the supporting residential which will go alongside it.
So when we talk about the supporting residential, there are some pockets of the Bangalore market that are beginning to slow down in the sense that they're not showing the kind of growth that Bangalore is normally used to. Do you believe that there is normally a lag between commercial space picking up and that having its impact on residential? How long do you expect that lag to be this time around?
So I think inherently, because new jobs are being created in the city, like I just explained, there is no doubt that even if 30% of the people who are getting jobs want a home in and around Bangalore, the demand is humongous. The new IT park, which you're just in the process of completing, will have about 1 lakh qualified people working in there. Now, even if 20% of the people or 25% of the people want a home, even in that park, we're talking about 25,000 homes. The numbers are all humongous. The question is, the sentiment is not in the right place, and rents are available still cheaper than the need to replace your acquisition with a self-owned acquisition. I believe that the apartments below 75 lakhs, which is meant for the first home users, is still doing exceedingly well in this city. And of course, after that, it starts tapering down, because then it starts catering to the little more senior management and so on and so forth. But I think below 75 lakhs, there is absolutely no problem on the demand side, and the customers also, being generated by the thousands every year.
So, like we mentioned earlier, you are in other cities other than Bangalore. Of all of the cities that you're functioning in right now, how would you rate the ease of doing business in Bangalore vis-a-vis other cities that you're working in?
So, I would say each one is got equal advantages and disadvantages to work. I really don't have a preference, but I do find that of late Hyderabad is showing good promise because of good leadership that has got into place on the political side, and they are encouraging the developers to get back into the business, and speedy permissions are coming through. Whereas I find that in most other cities, they're very indifferent to the development of that. Our real estate is basically infrastructure, so very indifferent as to how long it will take you to get permission. They expect you to go to all the pillar and post and get all the 25 to 30 permissions that are typically required to take a project off the ground. So nobody really cares what you do over here or in any other city for that matter. So I do hope that the government has a single window kind of a system to help the developers to get cracking and get faster so the infrastructure gets better, and at least from our point of view.
Actually, one of the challenges that Bangalore faces is that a lot of its IT development has been sort of in clusters, and the development comes up, but the infrastructure doesn't come up to support it. We've seen it happen in Whitefield, Electronic City, Sajapur Road. It's similar problems. Do you think that there needs to be a sort of conclusive mobility city plan that decentralizes, or at least plans infrastructure before the actual commercial space comes out?
So, the ideal wishful China model, which we all want for sure. I do hope somewhere in my heart, at least in my lifetime, I get to see some government waking up to do at least what they form is these small clusters where they just take large tracts of land and designate them for the future development. And
which technically is what North Bangalore was meant to be.
No, surprisingly, even though we did make a big noise about it when the previous development plan was there, that the whole corridor is completely vacant. Give it a planned focus so that it just gets completely structured and planned, and there's nothing called haphazard and small happening there. Everything should be large, so that every project that is getting there, whether it's residential or commercial, is good. They didn't bother about it. It's gone back to whatever happens in the rest of the city. So there is no space available. So what we would prefer is satellites in around all these big cities, because the amount of people making the beeline into urban cities, which all of us are aware, is tremendous. But I wish they do something like that and just create those excellences within in the peripheries of the city.
How much of a challenge is water right now for construction and development? In Bangalore, at least?
We do buy water for construction. Construction water is always bought out, so that is to be paid. It's a price that you pay to get the water. But I think more so it's to do with the water on an ongoing basis for a lot of projects, which you need for daily consumption, is becoming a problem in many parts of the city. If you in North Bangalore beyond Yelahanka, that is again the airport road, there is absolutely no supply of water from the municipal system. There is no subterranean water, so there is no borewell water available to you. There is no wells, so it is a really tough time when those large developments get completed, and then you'll have to actually be buying tankers on a daily basis for all consumption of the water that's happening there.
Is there an appeal to be made to the government of Karnataka or to the municipality of Bangalore to plan out these things better? I mean, we've had enough. It seems like a little bit of loggerheads of citizens versus government. We should be completely the other way around. Is there a step that's being missed in the planning phase of the city? So
once in 15 years, we have a comprehensive development plan in the city, which is called the CDP locally. And this basically, lays out what the next 15 years or 20 years of the city should plan itself for. And as to what are the challenges, it's supposedly has done a very detailed study in all the pockets and the regions as to what's that highly developed, intensely developed areas of the city, what does it do, and so on and so forth. But what it does not do is it is not taking all the various stakeholders of the various departments into the same document. So we still find, like your earlier question was about the water. Now, where the water resources are there and not there will not come on into the same planning process. Similarly, infrastructure, as to where would you want the city to grow to, is not stated. It's just a slight extrapolation of what is happening today. I really wish that plan, which is actually quite useful to the public, is made more user friendly and has all the stakeholders represented properly there. So that similar things, like you must have seen the bigger news in Bangalore, the Raj Kalways and the wrong encroachments of it. I wish that also in future the new CDP is incorporated as to what is the government's property within that. So at least let the public come to know.
For developers like yourself, is it a challenge right now to figure out which map the government is referring to, where the Raj Galways are? Because right now they've gone back to 1904. We're not talking about current development plan. We're not talking about the development plans of the last 50 years. So how challenging is it then? There were also challenges about margins to be left outside of lakes. That margin got moved around a bit. To a great deal of distress to the real estate sector in Bangalore. How difficult is it right now to plan and to build in this city?
So, no doubt it is challenging. Developers who are doing current planning are going by the NGT order, which is also being challenged at the Supreme Court level, as you're aware, because the developers are not happy. The government is also stepping forward and representing that the NGT order was a little more arbitrary than it should be. And my personal view is, the lakes, the access way for the water, for the rivers, the tributaries are all meant for generations to come. It's not my property or the current ruling party government's property. It is not. We have to protect it, I agree, but there should be one unified rule the center has to give us to what should be the width of it, how they should map it, how they should keep it clean, and what should be the no development zone around it. So that it becomes there for the future for the children. Today we are encroaching lakes just because it is dry. Instead of desilting the lakes, they are sitting and making plotted schemes over it, and that is okay as for the government does it. But I don't agree that the private should do it. But if any private person does it, they demolish this house. I really don't get it. They both don't connect together. I really wish that the little more maturity comes. They desilt the lakes and bring back the water reservoirs which the city desperately needs.
Actually, as an active citizen yourself in the city, and this is an honest question, should this government be listening to its citizens more?
I think every government should listen to its citizens more.
Bangalore tends to have a very active citizenship.
It is.
Citizens who get involved, who do a lot of reading, who are very informed, they care very deeply about their cities. Not a lot of cities have this much citizen activism. Should this government be more interactive, more open to listening?
I think two things. One is I do find they do also have to listen. They do listen also. It's not that they don't. And also because I think there's a lot more younger population who has a lot more mobile phones to get online to state their point of view, which is good. I find that it's a mature society is better to on a long term for the country itself. So there's no doubt that it should engage. But at the end of the day, I don't think any citizen can ever sit back and say government has heard all our issues. There's no such thing. Right. It's a question of over time, are they listening to more number of issues with the ears to the ground as to what the people want.
You did say, of course, that you are bullish about residential in Bangalore, that over a period of time you will see that impact play out. Are you actually getting into more residential in Bangalore?
No, unfortunately, as an organization, we have chosen to keep the commercial business as our own growth trajectory. Okay. Because we find there's a lot to do on the commercial side. We lead positions in two cities like Mumbai and in Bangalore and Chennai. We also are growing in Mumbai, in Gurgaon, in Pune, and in Hyderabad. We want to get back into the lead positions, if possible, at least in the one or two positions in terms of the supply on the office side in these cities. So there's a lot of work to do for us. So that's why we believe that we should focus our growth back only into commercial. We briefly
Is it because
ventured
the
resi.
margins are thinner on residential right now, or are the margins better in commercial? Is the uptake better in commercial? Why is that?
So commercial does not have any margin because you're not selling nothing.
Yes.
It's only one way. The capital goes only in; it doesn't come out. It takes a long period of time for the capital to get returned to you. But having said that, because the demand is there, there's a huge influx of, it's what I call the knowledge capital, which is coming into the city, into these cities, and so hence they need office spaces to operate through. So we believe that we can supply these 6 cities which my company operates in with more amount of office, of grade A space, so more multinationals can feel comfortable to provide a high quality office and work environment for their own staff.
You mentioned, of course, the Mumbai market or the MMR market. There is land available for sale in Thane, Belapur. I understand you're one of the runners considering that land. What are your plans for that entire stretch? If the land does come in, what are your plans for Mumbai and for MMR?
So in Mumbai, there are two things. I do find that Mumbai is not able to attract that much of talent, new talent rather, to come into the city simply because the cost of housing is extremely high. I'll give you an example. Like in Bangalore, for an individual, if he puts out 10,000 rupees and shares an apartment with 2 of his other friends, you can get a 3-bedroom easily for about 30,000 rupees in a well-located, branded home, just in a few kilometers from work.
Yes.
Now, if I take that same sequence and put it into Mumbai, forget 10,000. Even for 50,000, he won't get something close to where he would like to be.
Close to work in,
close to work
that level
in a branded
of comfort,
developer's building. So it just dissuades people from coming into Mumbai.
Sure.
So although Mumbai, is a city with all the buzz that is there, is a financial capital of the country, but I do find that if I find out from all the large IT companies, they are not preferring to move into Mumbai. First, the rents are higher, and secondly, availability of manpower, which is a bigger challenge for them, remains.
So, will you then be building in Mumbai at all?
No, sure, we'll be building because there is a need. There's a gap over there where not enough of grade A quality supply is there in that city. So we can fill that gap for sure.
Thane is starting to sort of become a self-proclaimed IT hub. With the TCS office has moved to Thane. We haven't seen much else happen, but there's a lot of talk about the fact that pricing-wise, Thane now becomes more competitive than Pune. Do you believe that to be true?
So 2 things. One is because Bombay has good international connectivity, and the reason I say that is a lot of decision making happens from overseas. And if they find it easier to get to a city it'll help them to take decisions better. So that's typically how I've seen the mindset coming from all large multinationals, and of course availability of manpower and so on. So yes, in those areas of Mumbai, you will find more activity going forward, but will it be able to sustain, say, a Bangalore equivalent or half a Bangalore equivalent? The answer is no, because of the manpower not willing to move in there, which is a bigger challenge. You'll run out of manpower very soon. But it's okay. It's this event which I'm saying is 3 to 5 years away. It's not something we'll do tomorrow.
What are the other cities that you believe can see a Bangalore level or a half a Bangalore level sustained, traction then?
So Hyderabad did put out a lot of talent in the past. Hyderabad does churn out a good amount of local talent. Similar. So it's Hyderabad, Chennai, Pune.
But Hyderabad lost out to Pune, so a lot of that has to come back to Hyderabad now.
I think it will, because what I liked about Hyderabad has always been its infrastructure, which I keep using as a reference to the other government, saying at least do so much, and then we'll talk about doing beyond that.
The Chennai market has been very quiet over the last year, especially in the resi space at least. What have you noticed on the commercial space? What is the ease of doing business in Chennai?
So, like I said, it's equally difficult or easy because all the permissions, have to be got through. But having said that, that's common to, like I said, to all the cities. But in terms of, I find that in South, you'll find that there's a lot more emphasis on the children who are getting educated into the more accounting and engineering field. So inherently, the colleges in and around where not only are churning out good qualified engineers and accounting people, and also it is in English. So I find most of the colleges educate their children in English. So hence it's an English-speaking, English-thinking society, which the South is, and also, as you know, the South always emphasized on the children being educated. It was a #1 requirement for the for a person who has a child to set aside resources to give them good quality education. That's helping now in the growth of the country.
All right. I also want to do one very quick question about Pune as well. There's a lot of talk about the fact that Pune is becoming expensive. But do you believe that there's more growth in Pune? The infrastructure can keep up. It's a smart city and it's possibly going to do very well. What's your outlook on Pune?
So Pune again has got a great a promise. It has two major bottlenecks. The first one simply being that there is no international connectivity. Again, like I said, the decision makers find it difficult. They have to land into Mumbai and then drive in. So that does become a disadvantage. The second one is again the infrastructure is, I have traveled to Pune over 2 decades, and I find that it is getting more and more crowded, and the already narrow roads are getting choked. So it's not far behind before you know that city is also crumbled.
There'll be a Bangalore and Pune again.
It has crumbled. So that then the question is, then why do you go to Pune? Then the bigger question will start kicking in.
Actually, the fundamental argument normally when we have analysts on our shows talking about the resi market at least, is that Bangalore has still room to grow and to absorb all of the demand that's coming in. So until Bangalore is completely done, which is it's far from done, the other cities that sort of feed off the scraps that fall from the table of Bangalore are going to have to wait their turn. And given the fact that a lot of the things have slowed down, that Bangalore is going to be where all the action is for the next few years.
No, there's no doubt. As an organization, even our growth plan is about 60% is going to grow in the city only. So that's even our belief that this city has a very good future promise. And the next one is followed by Gurgaon, followed by, say, Hyderabad, Chennai. Then it's a Mumbai, and finally Pune. So it's in that order, in that pecking order, as I call it. But the numbers are dramatic. Like I said, if Bangalore is 50%, I'm allocating the balance 50% over the balance 5 cities.
If you had a friend who came into your office over this festive season saying, I want to invest in real estate, what advice would you give that friend?
Even though I'm from Bangalore, I'll be saying Bangalore because it's just simply, when it starts taking off, there's no looking back. The city, because simply the demand is there, jobs genuinely, the investors don't exist, actual buyers exist. So it's going to
the numbers all add up
it's going to pick up very soon.
So you'd say buy something in the 50-60 lakh rupee bracket in Bangalore and then wait?
That's typically whatever you want, you buy. And finally, it's a question of what your end use is. Are you going to just invest to give it out on rent? Then obviously the rents do unfortunately give you a 2.5% return on equity. But on a larger basis, if you want to really invest in real estate, then I think you should. Then you can buy a property in any price bracket depending on what your affordability is, because everything is the same. When it starts rising, all rise by the same percentage over time. It's a question of what you want to do with it.
What is your plan right now on the REITs? The last time we spoke, you said that you will be filing perhaps in the next couple of quarters. Where are you on your REITs plan at this point? So
there are 2 things. One is, we have been requesting SEBI for what is called the private REIT, which they have permitted on the infrastructure side. The reason being that our investors are actually not wanting to sell out because they still believe in the growth of this business. So they're happy to have a more liquid, an event of liquidity by creating the REIT. So we're looking at filing in a REIT application somewhere by Q1 2017 and listing by Q3 of 2017. That's the overall plan for now. But the event of liquidity is the only thing that we are looking at the REIT for, so that we can buy in more assets and trade them by giving the REIT units to the incoming assets that are being loaded into the REIT.
There's a certain level of nervousness right now in the industry with regards to the regulator. Of course, commercial space, although will be regulated, is in a far better position to be regulated than a lot of the residential market. Where do you think a lot of the nervousness is coming from? And is there anything you think that should be done by governments who are framing their rules at this point to make industry a little more comfortable?
Okay, the first answer is RERA intention is very good. But my fear is RERA is going to go the urban land ceiling way, where the intent was very good, but the action is going to go the other way. Because what's happening is, so
that would mean that it would have to be, rolled back after a point. It would go horribly wrong. You actually see it that way?
I'll tell you why it's going to go wrong. Like I said, the intent is good. I want a RERA to be there because it puts everybody in a kind of a proper guide rail. That's the first answer. But the issue is as follows. Let's assume, like I just explained, that the 25 permissions that we need are taken. So this developer has done all that it's required, and then RERA has given him, under RERA, he gets the green light to start his project. If these permissions can be insulated against him, saying that, okay, you've got all the permissions, now I've given you the green light to go. These permissions cannot be used against you.
Right.
I'm okay if that event comes in. So that means the developer only has to deliver the quality, the promise, and in time. That's typically what he has to. In any case, his the cash flow is also regulated under RERA to that 70% extent. So I'm okay with that. But if you start saying that even though you've taken the permissions, I have given you the green light, but those 25 permissions can be reopened and rocked around, and I'll send you to jail because of that, I think that's pushing it a little too hard. Because then, you're holding him responsible for something that the government has given him. Case in point, what is happening in Bangalore,
Yes.
where the developers did take project approvals, the government had approved it, and suddenly the government itself unfortunately pulls it back for one reason or the other. Then what happens? Why should the developer be the only one standing there, and there's no government taking any responsibility for what it has done?
I also want to ask you about foreign investment. A lot was said about the fact that now FDI is being made available. You have a deal going with the QIA right now.
Right.
And there are enough people who say the fiscal prudence that will come in with the regulator will actually make India an attractive space for foreign money, for dollars to come in and invest in real estate.
Sure.
So do you believe that that portion at least is in the right spirit in
It
in
is,
real
because
estate,
I
in
think
RERA?
when foreign capital comes in, they do not want to see surprises going forward, because their intentions are good. Their initial due diligence are with good intent. So that's fine. But then imagine going forward and suddenly finding that 6 permissions were not taken when you started the project is not in good taste, and that actually spoils the reputation of the developer community. So it's good that the regulations are pre-certified through the RERA system, and then the monies are being put alongside, and at least their money is safeguarded from that extent. Then it's only the question of, is the money being used to complete the project, which the investors have to see.
Right. Before we wrap up this interview, any advice to people buying real estate this this season in India?
I think I'm an eternal optimist, the wrong person to ask. So if you ask me, will I be buying real estate? I keep buying real estate at all points in time. And I expect anybody who would like to invest in real estate, this Diwali, I think a lot of developers are putting out great offers. And I think it doesn't get better, because from here you'll find the prices only going up the moment the feel good comes in. So there's no prices doesn't go down. The question of the building is ready or nearly ready. It's easier if you want to move into it, so that you don't risk the long gestation of the development. But otherwise, the deals on the table are quite good.
All right, Raj, I wish you very good luck and a very happy festive season.
Thank you.
Thank you for speaking with us.
Man.
You can watch live TV on our website mpnow.in. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Magicbricks Now. And don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at Magicbricks Now. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/Magicbricks Now.